What is good, guys? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I want to talk about what's going on with Apple and SPY and break down some very important levels. I'm also going to talk about a couple of other tickers out there very briefly, and then talk about how on earth the market is looking so far. But before I do anything like this, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And don't forget about the Moomoo link. The offer ends very soon. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks with the $50 cash reward. Offer ends in just 13 days. Anyways, what's going on with the market? How are things looking so far? So, looking at Apple, I mean, Apple has been one of the biggest highlights of the day. Apple's holding up quite decently so far, and you can also draw out this like channel on it as it's holding up very nicely. So Apple got this breakout today. It was very oversold for the last couple of days, and it actually made its way back up to 174. That does not mean Apple is bullish overall. The trend could still be weak if you look at the much larger time frames, such as the 4-hour time frame or even the daily. It still is on a big downtrend, but relief bounces like this are completely normal. And as Apple's doing this, it's actually trying to fight some important resistance. So Apple basically is going to be treating this 174 area as either support or resistance, depending on where we are. Breaking below that, we're going to be watching this confluence of support right over here around this 173.8 area. And if it breaks below this, then there could be a bearish signal down here to come all the way down to like our 50 EMA around the 173.3 area and very tight levels like that. Now, if it bounces and tries to hold above 174, that's going to be our pivot zone, a very important level. It has the potential to push up to about 174.4 to 174.6, breaking above those resistances, and we could see this thing push all the way up to 175. And if that breaks, it could push a lot nicer. So far it's holding up quite decently. Nothing too bad is going on. We're going to be watching this very carefully. Once again, this is going to be a very critical level. Now, when it comes to the overall market, however, it's very important to note that the way this market moves and what happens in it is going to be not just dictated by Apple, but also these market makers. We had about 900,000 calls out of the money and about 400 plus thousand in the money for a total of about almost or a little bit over 1.5 million of these calls in total expiring for today. And on the put side, we have over 2.8 million puts expiring with the $439 max pain with a 2.04 put to call ratio. So we're going to be watching to see what the market makers try. The market makers are incentivized to hold the market up and try to get us to close closer to about 439 on SPY. But this is going to be determined by Apple and other factors to see how it's holding up. Apple did try to get a bounce, tried to break out, but now it's going to be retesting the support right here. So we're going to be seeing if it can bounce or not. This is going to be very key. So watch these levels very carefully on Apple and etc. But now let's switch over to SPY and see how this is doing. Looking at SPY, this is a little bit different. This thing got a very nice break from this previous channel that this thing was in. So a very nice break has formed so far. Are we going to continue to break out? Well, it really depends on different factors. Uh, could you argue that there's a possible like rising wedge forming? Yes, you could argue that, but there's no sign of a break just yet. So not going to count on that just yet. Instead, we're just going to be watching these levels very carefully to see if this ends up holding up or not. For now, it has resistance, okay? Resistance at around 436. If it breaks above that, we have the next level at 436.5. There is some resistance at 437, but not as strong as 437.5. That's a historical resistance. And getting above 438 would be a bullish signal for this thing to push up to 439. But when it comes to downside, I'm going to be watching this support right about here. First off, below this, you have support at about 435 flat. That's going to be another one worth mentioning. And if it breaks below that, there's 434.84. Breaking below that, then we have a retest of this channel that it was on previously, followed by these lower levels. But you can see right here, trying to hold this wedge, we will see if this plays out. There is an ascending wedge on it, so we'll see if we get a breakout or not. It's just a matter of time. But for now, I'm just watching these levels very carefully to see if anything like that ends up happening. So for now, it's trying to hold up. I mean, there's no guarantee we get any sort of like major breakdown or anything like that. It could just be a very minor one before this thing tries to hold up. Because the market makers are incentivized to try to hold the market up, that would work in their favor. If the market does get a rug pull later on today, it's not going to work to their advantage. Okay, so it's very important to note that. Don't forget to watch these levels. and it's very important to look at them. So right now, we are still in this formation. We're going to be watching the market at least make an attempt to hold at least above 435 for the majority of the day. We're actually trying to make our way back up to 436 right now. We're going to be watching to see if this thing can continue pushing to these higher levels. So watch this on a levels level basis and just know that the market makers are likely going to try to hold this up, but there are no guarantees in a market like this, no matter how crazy things could seem. So for that reason, just watch your levels very, very carefully. You're going to be watching every single one of them. And don't forget to look at Apple. Apple is going to play a big role in which way the market moves. So far, it's testing 174. It came very close to testing it again. Still trying to hold up, though. It's not doing bad whatsoever. It's still holding up. So we're going to be watching these levels carefully and see which way the market breaks from here. Looking at something else like Tesla, Tesla made an attempt to break out. We talked about this in the morning, a little pop that was expected, but then it ended up failing after that. And now Tesla's looking like this. So looking at this overall, we have like this very, very interesting looking resistance area right about here. So Tesla basically pushed up to about almost 218. We were talking about this level, came very, very close to it. Then rejected, came down from our midline of support, and it's been stuck in this channel for quite some time. Tesla ended up failing again to get that breakout. Now it's testing 215. 215 is a pivotal level alongside this midline right here in this like 213 area. We have 212 as support, as critical support, 212.3. And if it breaks below that, like I said before, we have like 210 as the next like really, really strong support. But for now, it's kind of like stuck in this channel going back and forth, not really doing anything too significant. If it does try to break above 218, there is potential for it to try to get above its 200 EMA at 2. Once it breaks 218, then we could see like 220 to 221. But so far, it looks very tight. It looks like it's just going to be range bound for the majority of the day. So that's all I'm seeing for Tesla, nothing too insane. And finally, we have the QQQ and Nvidia coming next. For the triple Q, I think we got a breakout from the previous area. We were talking about this earlier as well. It broke. It actually bounced off 355. We saw some long wicks on the bottom, which is a good sign. And this thing started pushing upwards. Then it made its way back up to the previous uh, critical level in this 357 area. We're getting very close to it again. This is where this thing got a historical bounce in the past. If it breaks above this, you're going to be watching this trend line as resistance around 358 and 360 above that. If it breaks down, watch the previous resistance acting as support, so around this 357 flat area. Below that, you have 356.5, 356 flat, then 355 is going to come next below that. We're just kind of going back and forth for now. Nothing too crazy, but we are looking a little bit more in favor of bulls as we're forming a nice accumulation phase. This could even be forming like a cup and handle. That is a real possibility. So it's looking quite decent so far. We're going to be watching to see if this holds up or not. We're just going to be watching these levels very, very carefully. You can also draw out a channel on this if you want. I didn't do it yet, but you could if you want. On Nvidia, this is also holding up quite decently, not looking too bad in my opinion. Uh, Zooming out of it, we're going to go back to the 30 minutes time frame for this one. I talked about this move, this basically like this back test of this area and then a potential drop. We actually did this right before we opened. So if you look at this carefully, we have this channel, right? This channel that Nvidia was in. And then when you zoom in, we got this back test right when we opened. We touched the channel, got a huge rejection, and we came right to support at 416, the level I called out if we broke below 420. Then we went right back up, and now we're trying to get back into this channel. So it's pretty crazy price action for Nvidia. But this was similar to what I was calling out on it. This like back test, the drop, and maybe a bounce after that. And now we're trying to get back into this channel. It's acting as resistance now. And we're going to be watching to see if this thing can finally get back to this area and start like flagging. It's just a matter of time. If it breaks down, you're going to be watching 425, 420, and 416 as three major supports. For resistance, watch this channel area right here. We also have some resistance technically at like 431. Then above that, there's like 435. Then we also have the resistance up above here. If it gets a breakout, there's 442, 446, and like 450 plus, all as possibilities for like next week. We have earnings coming up very soon, which is going to be very fun. And this setup is still looking quite decent approaching earnings. But don't forget, there are going to be a lot of macroeconomic factors and pieces of news that will affect the market going into next week. So we'll see how this affects Nvidia. but typically it does pump up approaching its earnings, and there's a good chance of that happening. We will have to see if we could try to break out of this channel. If we do get that breakout, that's going to be your confirmation of a nice push upwards. We'll wait and see on that. So far, it's holding up quite decently, not looking bad whatsoever. So I went over 4 of the main ones. Besides that, I just want to say that the market is still trying to hold up. SPY is not looking too bad, it's still trying to hold up for now. If this thing does end up breaking down, just hypothetically, let's just say, this ascending wedge ends up just like leading to something bearish. Hypothetically, right? I'm not guaranteeing anything, because nothing in the market is always guaranteed, and even these wedges don't always play out. So you're going to be watching 435 as support, by the way. If that ends up breaking, especially if we break below the 50 EMA, our next level is going to be very close to this like 434 area if we do get a big drop there. If 434 breaks, this thing has some support at 433.6. Below that, there's 433 flat, 432.5, and then followed by that, I mean, we could go all the way down to like 432 to 431.5 as the next supports if we do get some kind of like big break to the downside. Not guaranteeing it, but it's just those are just some levels to be prepared for, just in case there's bad news or something. So we're going to be watching these levels very carefully, see how the market is trying to hold up. And I hope this video was helpful for you guys. So just watch these levels. We are holding up quite decently so far. We're kind of like range bound for now, but we're going to be watching to see how Apple moves. That's going to be one of the biggest market movers. Apple is still trying to hold up. It's going to be retesting 174 in just about a couple of minutes. Watch it very carefully. Do what you have to do, guys. And please, please, please be very patient in the market like this, and don't forget about those market makers. They may be incentivized to hold the market up, but that doesn't really guarantee anything. That's part of why the market is holding up so far, so be very careful during the final hour. There could be a push, but just to be safe, let's see if we could hold these levels. There's a good chance of the market still trying to hold up, thanks to Apple so far. All right, so watch the levels, do what you have to do, and I'll see you guys very soon. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. I hope you guys kill it today. Hope you guys have a very, very awesome weekend as well. I will be back for like a later video later on today. And that's all I have for this one. So take care, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you, and peace out.